Back to our focus on leadership today, we're going to look at the role that employers have on the well-being and engagement of their employees. Joining me to talk more about that, we have from Bennett, Colorado, Town Administrator Trish Stiles, River Falls, Wisconsin Administrator Scot Simpson, and Coral Springs, Florida City Manager Frank Babinec. Thank you guys all so much for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Such an important topic. Let's start by asking all of you, what has changed in leadership today and why is a new model so essential right now?
Well, I think one of the main things that's changed is just our focus on the individual employee and their needs.
I think for us, the changing demographic of the workplace, and so they want different things than we're sort of used to over all of these years, and so it's time for changes to be made.
It's just a different workforce that has different needs and different expectations, and we have to be changing in our leadership styles to be able to accommodate those needs and expectations.
Scott, I want to go to you. You've been focused on employee engagement in your city of River Falls. So what was your approach and how did you work to build togetherness within your staff by looking at the organizational structure?
Just like you'd have a logistics group or a safety group, we had an employee support group, and their whole job, and they came from, much as Frank has indicated, they weren't just the HR department, it was employees from across the community that came together, and their sole job was how can we support the employees who are supporting the community. And so we just made a shift in that organizational structure, and I think we're going to see that carry forward now as we come out of the pandemic.
Trish, we'll talk to you about your focus on emotional buy-in. What does that mean and how do you work on that emotional buy-in?
We had often many conversations surrounding different goals, but we really talked about personal goals first so that you could see what people were passionate about and get that understanding of kind of what makes them tick and what was important to them. And then we turned that over, that same emotional connection to a personal goal, over to our work goals. And we talked about them both internally and externally. So what does that mean for our community? Is that something we should be passionate about? Because that's health and safety for our residents.
Frank, what do you see as the employer responsibility for behavioral health amongst staff?
I think it should be a priority. The safety, health, and wellness, and you said the right word there, is the responsibility of the leadership within the organization. Every day, somebody has something going on that's just piling up, and having the proper safety, health, and wellness programs in place is paramount. Again, I see it as a responsibility, so I'm glad you used that word because that's exactly what it is.
Tell us about the behavioral health access program Coral Springs has set up, and how does that work with your employees?
BHAP is basically Incident Command for Mental Wellness. It is a model, it's a comprehensive model that has a lot of different components under it that puts them all under one umbrella and has one person in the organization that's responsible for looking after those programs. A lot of times when you walk down the hall and you ask somebody, hey Trish, how you doing? You want to hear, I'm doing great, so I can go about my day, right? Because you don't know what to do if she says, you know something, I'm struggling right now, I'm not doing that well. Well, what BHAP does, it allows for those conversations because if she says that to me, I know the resources that are available to me, readily available to me, that I can reach out to not only help me get through that conversation, but to ultimately help her get back to a productive and positive state.
So I want to ask each of you, how do you see your approaches to leadership evolving, and what do you hope to see in the next 5 or 10 years? I know it's hard to look out that far.
Yeah, well, I hope to see an acceleration of the informal nature of the culture and kind of moving away from the policy angles and more towards what are the strategies we put in place and how do we support the employees.
What about you, Trish?
I think for us, as we move forward, I have a wonderful, amazing group of people that have so much potential and so much capability. And I think that as we continue to figure this out, we'll see that potential come out in our employees and hopefully get them more re-engaged and passionate about what they're doing. And so that's sort of my goal as we move forward.
Frank?
I think leadership is going to have to adjust to the different generations within our workforce and understand exactly what the panel is saying is understand what's important to the workforce because those priorities are changing. They have changed and they're going to continue to change.
Well, Scott, Trish, and Frank, thank you all so much for joining us today talking about employee engagement. It's been impressive to hear what you've done in your areas. I know it's been very helpful for those watching and they can probably implement some of those same things. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.